You ask us why we choose DDS, why we continue to stand here despite the insults, despite the attacks. Simple. Because we got tired. Tired of watching criminals act like they own the streets. Tired of drug pushers poisoning communities while politicians sit comfortably in air-conditioned offices. Tired of corrupt officials smiling for cameras during the day and stealing from the people at night. Tired of hearing speeches. Tired of hearing promises. Tired of hearing the same excuses over and over again while ordinary Filipinos continue to suffer. For years, the people cried for help. And what did they receive? More politics, more investigations, more press conferences, more explanations, but no real change. While they were talking, families were suffering. While they were debating, communities were becoming unsafe. While they were protecting their political interest, ordinary Filipinos were left to fend for themselves. Then someone came. Not speaking like a traditional politician, not reading from prepared scripts, not hiding behind flowery words. He spoke with anger. He spoke with urgency. He spoke the language of people who were already fed up. And for the first time, millions of Filipinos felt something they had not felt in years. Hope. The feeling that somebody was finally willing to fight. That is why many of us chose DDS. Not because we love chaos, not because we hate human rights, but because we were desperate for order, desperate for discipline, desperate for safety. People who have never lived with fear will never fully understand this. It is easy to preach from a distance. It is easy to talk about ideal solutions when your family is safe. But many Filipinos did. We experienced that fear. And when fear becomes part of our daily life, we stop looking for leaders who simply talk. We start looking for leaders who act. We, DDS supporters, believe something very simple. A country cannot survive when criminals are feared more than the government. A nation cannot move forward when corrupt officials continue to escape accountability. And discipline is not oppression. Discipline is necessary. Because without discipline, there is disorder. Without order, there is suffering. Without consequences, wrongdoing grows stronger. That is reality. Yet, critics continue to call DDS supporters blind, fanatics, uneducated. But let me ask you this. If millions of Filipinos saw absolutely nothing, why would they continue supporting the movement? Because many of us believed we saw change. We saw action. We saw officials become more cautious. We saw criminals become more afraid. We saw movement instead of endless discussions. Was everything perfect? No. Were mistakes made? Of course. But we saw something we believed had been missing for years. The willingness to fight, and that mattered. You can disagree with us. That is your right. But do not dismiss the people who support it without first understanding why. Because this movement did not come from comfort. It came from frustration, from anger, from disappointment, from years of feeling ignored, years of feeling abandoned, years of feeling that nobody in power was listening. And when people finally believe that someone is listening, that someone is willing to defend them, they become loyal, very loyal. That is why DDS is more than politics to many Filipinos. It became a symbol of strength, a symbol of discipline, a symbol of fighting back after years of feeling powerless. So why do we choose DDS? Because this country has suffered long enough. Because many Filipinos grew tired of waiting, tired of excuses, tired of corruption, tired of leaders who talk beautifully but fail to act. And many believe that when a nation is drowning in fear, it does not need another speech. It needs someone willing to stand up and fight. We are tired. Tired of corruption, tired of lies, tired of politicians treating this country like their family business, while ordinary Filipinos suffer every single day. We are tired of waking up early, working until our bodies break, and still not having enough. Tired of watching students struggle for education, while corrupt officials become richer. Tired of seeing people defend leaders who do not even defend them back. And the worst part? People were taught to accept it. Be quiet, don't complain. That's just how the Philippines is. No, that is exactly why we fight. That is why we choose the Kakampink side. Because Kakampink is not just a color. It is resistance. Resistance against corruption, resistance against fake news, resistance against leaders who use fear, anger, and lies to stay powerful. We choose Kakampink because we refuse to worship politicians like kings. Public servants are supposed to serve the people, not manipulate them, not steal from them, not brainwash them, and definitely not erase history just to protect their name. We choose Kakampink because facts matter, not edited TikTok videos, not propaganda, not fake stories repeated 1,000 times until people think they are true. The truth matters. History matters. Because once a country forgets the truth, it becomes easy to control. And we refuse to be controlled by lies. People say Kakampings are too emotional. Of course, we are emotional. How can you not be emotional when farmers are starving? When students cannot afford education? When workers are underpaid? When people die poor while corrupt officials live like royalty? How can you stay silent when your country is bleeding? And let's be honest, many people are afraid of the Kakampink movement because it awakened something dangerous. People who think, people who ask questions, people who fact check, people who refuse to clap for corruption, people who believe Filipinos deserve better than empty promises and political dynasties. That terrifies the powerful. Because educated, united, hopeful people are harder to manipulate. Being Kakampink is not about believing one politician is perfect. This is bigger than one person. This is about standards. We want leaders with integrity, leaders with competence, leaders with transparency, leaders who work even when cameras are gone. Because Filipinos deserve leaders who actually care if the people survive. And yes, standing on this side is hard. You get mocked, you get insulted, you get called brainwashed, dramatic, elitist. But we still stand. Because silence helps the corrupt. Silence helps the liars. Silence is exactly what broken systems want from us. The Kakampink movement showed something beautiful and terrifying at the same time. That ordinary Filipinos can still unite without violence, without money, without fear. Volunteers fed strangers. Students educated voters. People helped each other without asking for power in return. That is real patriotism, not blind loyalty to politicians, not defending corruption because of pride. Real patriotism is loving our country enough to demand better from it. So why do we choose the Kakampink side? Because we are done accepting the bare minimum, done romanticizing suffering, done excusing corruption, done allowing lies to become stronger than truth. We choose this side because we still believe the Philippines can become better. And if fighting for honesty, accountability, education, justice, and compassion makes us radical, then so be it. At the end of the day, this is not really about pink. It is about choosing what kind of country we want to become. A country ruled by fear, or a country brave enough to fight for truth? Because nations do not collapse in one day. They collapse when good people stop caring, when citizens stop questioning, when lies become normal, and we refuse to let that happen. So we stand, we speak, we fight, not because it is easy, but because the Philippines is worth fighting for. Honestly, if we remove the colors and the politics, DDS and Kakampings are angry about many of the same things. DDS supporters got tired of crime, drugs, weak leadership, and endless talking without action. Kakampings got tired of corruption, misinformation, lack of accountability, and politicians acting like they are above the law. The difference is not always the goal. The difference is often the method. One side prioritizes order and decisive action. The other prioritizes transparency, accountability, and protecting democratic institutions. But let's be real. The Philippines needs both. What good is discipline if corrupt officials are untouchable? What good is accountability if government cannot deliver results? We need leaders who can act fast and be held accountable. We need law enforcement and respect for rights. We need facts and solutions. Red, pink, yellow, green, whatever color. If a politician steals, they should answer for it. If a politician performs, they deserve credit. The standard should be the same for everyone. At the end of the day, the enemy is not your fellow Filipino with a different political view. The enemy is corruption, incompetence, dishonesty, and leaders who keep us divided while the country falls behind. The Philippines will move forward when we stop worshiping politicians and start demanding results from all of them. This Independence Day, the real question is, are we truly free? Let's be honest. What kind of independence are we celebrating when corruption continues to rob the Filipino people every single day? Our heroes did not fight for this. They did not shed blood so that corruption could become a normal part of government. Independence is not just freedom from foreign rule. It is freedom from corruption, neglect, and the betrayal of public trust. So, on this day, Independence Day, let us stop pretending that everything is fine. Let us honor our heroes, not only with words, but with the courage to demand change. Because the true measure of independence is not the number of flags we wave today. It is whether every Filipino can live with dignity, safety, and hope. Happy Independence Day, Philippines. May we have the courage to fight for the nation our heroes died for. And again, that's all for now. Bye.